Yep.
To start that second half, it seemed like you guys were able to get more of the playmakers, so to speak, involved compared to that first half. What kind of changed from a play calling standpoint that allowed you guys?
Yeah, I think the big thing in the third quarter, we got into some rhythm. I think, in the first half, we weren't in a lot of rhythm, and that was our own fault in some instances or most instances. But I was really proud of the way our guys responded after halftime. We kind of made the point that we had to sustain some drives. Going into that game, you're going to be limited on possessions just by the way that Minnesota plays and their style of play. And the first half, we had, I think, a pretty good drive early and didn't get any points down there. So, from our standpoint, the third quarter was huge, and I'm really proud of our guys. We got into a rhythm. We possessed the ball some. I think then the next series of defense maybe had 4 plays and got out, and then we possessed it some more. So I think that was the key to the game. But, really, we didn't change our philosophy in the third quarter. We just came out and kind of executed it, got in some rhythm, got in some pace, and it helped us, get down there and get a field goal. We got to get touchdowns. I think that's the number one focus for us is I think we had technically 3 trips in the red zone, 1 of 3 on touchdowns. So we got to score touchdowns, and, I think that drive was definitely a key to the game.
When you think of the adversity the offensive line dealt with going back to the first practice when Coach Clemens was ill and very ill,
yeah.
You were coaching over there in the line a lot,
yeah.
And then how young they are.
Yeah.
To perform at the level
yeah.
that they did, they 5 in the top 6 grades and get up or right.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really proud of that group. We had 4 guys in that group that it was their first start, and we got some young, talented guys in that group, and they play tough. They're physical. They bought into toughness travels. That's kind of our mantra, on offense, and we knew we would need that, going to Minnesota, playing a Big Ten opponent on the road, opening the season, and they bought into that. We weren't clean all the time. We obviously made some mistakes, but really proud of that group, and I thought they kept their composure. Things were tough early, as far as executing and scoring touchdowns, and that group just kept fighting. Austin Blasky, our center, is kind of an older guy, and his first start and win, and the smile on his face after the game, and just seeing him, and I just saw him in the elevator a while ago. It's fun to watch those guys improve and get better, and I think you'll see that each and every week. They're going to get better and improve as an offense, and I think that's going to be a huge part moving forward of our success is how we gel. And every year's different. From the standpoint of what your team looks like or offense looks like. Been spoiled around here pretty good with 2 really great quarterbacks the last 2, and we got some talent at that position here too, and we just got to continue to let the offense evolve and really establish our identity for what 2024 is going to look like. Yep.
That's a quick follow-up. Staying on that Aiden Mayfield, Mac just told us that his ankle was banged up.
Yeah.
He's got a true freshman.
Yeah.
First game of the year, he started, got a banged up ankle.
Yeah.
What kind of?
Yeah, wasn't that impressive? He twisted it last week in practice, and there was some concern there whether or not he'd really be able to play. And he's just a tough guy, no drama, doesn't say a whole lot, just plays, and he plays physical. If you watch the film, he's one of the most violent players we have, and for a true freshman, that's really impressive. The moment's never too big for him, and really proud of the toughness he showed and the physicality that he played with.
I was going to say, Matt was just talking about the offense being too like in the first half.
Yeah.
What do you think caused that?
That's a good question. Maybe it's, like I said, a lot of those guys playing really or being starters for the first time. Maybe that had something to do with it. And playing a good opponent, too. And last year, if you remember the game we had, we hit some big plays in the passing game, and we didn't do that the other night. Those guys are going to make you earn it because they're going to outnumber you in the box or try to most of the time. So we weren't able to do that. That's something we got to improve on. I got to find better ways to create explosive plays down the field for our offense, and something we're going to work really hard on. And then I think what it shows, though, a testament to our guys, and obviously Omari and Hampton's a huge part of that. When you go back and really watch the film, we had hats on the right people most of the time. We were physical in the box, and the extra guy sometimes makes the tackle for 6 or 7 yards, and that's okay. We'll live with that, but we got to start taking advantage. People we understand are going to force us to do that and load the box on us, and that's some areas we got to improve on for sure.
Chip, what are some examples of how this offense can play to its strengths with Connor there? Just like, I know you're talking about it has to evolve and it's going to be a process. But what are just some maybe top line items that you would point out?
I think how do we create the explosive plays? There's really, I've said this before, good football is what wins, and creating explosives is the first part of it on offense. And so I think the question we have to answer is, what is our best way to create explosive plays with the personnel we have? Connor had a great fall camp, a really good spring. He's improved tremendously. It was a really good competition. He's very talented, and I've seen him be way more confident and way more assertive with our team. He was thrown into a tough situation the other night, thrown in the third quarter in a really tight game. And other than the one hiccup on the draw where the ball got on the ground, he played pretty solid. He executed and did what we asked him to do. And I think you're going to see him evolve. He's still a young player. He's played a little bit last year here and there, but our goal is to build the offense around his strengths, and that's what you do when you're in coaching, and we got to do our part as coaches. And this offense, sometimes you go into a season thinking you'll be about this or that on offense, and then you find out, man, by the end of the year we weren't as good as I thought we were going to be at certain things. And I think that's what we're doing right now, is trying to do a biggest self-evaluation. And that O-line that you mentioned earlier is going to be a huge part of it, and Amari Hampton's always going to be a huge part of it. But we got playmakers on the outside too, and I've got to do a better job of getting those guys more opportunities, and that's something we didn't do a good job of the other night.
You say build around the strengths of Connor. What are his strengths that
Yep.
you focus on?
Sure, he is. He's got a big arm. He can throw. I think he can throw the ball down the field. I think he's extremely talented from an arm talent standpoint. I think he's a really good athlete. We all seen him when he breaks loose in the open. He can really run. He's a smart kid. He'll work extremely hard. The more he plays, the more confidence I think he'll play it with. And I think he's already made a lot of progress in that respect. And then, we got the offense. When you say build it around the strengths of our playmakers, it starts with number 28. I think he's one of the better players in the country. And then I think Darwin's got his role's got to expand some too. We 30 carries a game is probably not exactly what we're looking for with Omarion, but sometimes the game dictates that. It's one of the hardest things in coaching is, as the game goes, you get a feel for what the game's like, right? That was a slugfest. A rainy night. It was a man's man game there inside. I mean, you had to be ready to be physical at all positions, and we answered the bell on that. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of. And as the game went, and it was going to be a tight game, we wanted to make sure that we kept the offense in a good spot where we didn't make any mistakes and try to win the football game no matter what. And that's the number one thing, is trying to win the game. And at the same time, we're not happy with the production we got, and we got to improve in that area.
When you mentioned Connor's athleticism, does the job of the offensive line change in any ways with shifting the pocket and kind of?
Not really. We have the ability to move in the pocket. Didn't do that a ton the other night. We're getting a lot of outside pressure the other night. It's really hard to run nakeds and move it when you're getting pressure from the edge, and we were getting a lot of that. So, our deal the other night was trying to run the ball inside different ways. My daughter will always say, you run the same play over and over inside. It's not true, but the scheme's always different. So I catch that at home. Too. So. But the scheme is different, okay? So, but I hope she's listening to this. But no, I think as the coordinator, you have to evaluate. When you're getting a lot of edge pressure, they did a good job bringing safeties and corners, and you're not real comfortable, running nakeds and sprinting into those looks. So I think that's something that we just tried to stay true to the game plan and what we were seeing. We were facing a new defensive coordinator. He did a really nice job. Looking back, he did a lot of things he had done in his past, which was 3 or 4 years ago, and not as much what they've kind of hung their hat on over the last few years. So, I thought we made some adjustments. For instance, they played a lot more, covered the center a lot more than they had shown, and I thought Austin did a great job, because a lot of times he's left on an island when that happens, and he did a great job handling that. So, the game, as the game goes, those are things that are tough in openers. A lot of times in openers, you don't always know what to expect. People have different looks and wrinkles, and, I think we handled those things well, and, I'm sure we'll see a little bit of that as we move forward.
Chip, one thing that Matt was talking about when he was just in here was, now that Connor's starting, kind of getting Jacoby ready, making sure that he's ready to go. Where would you say Jacoby is right now? Obviously, he came in a little bit later. Where would you say he is right now as far as readiness to play?
Yeah, I think he's getting closer and closer. I think, he came in a little bit behind the 8 ball a little bit because of the timing of when he got to go with us. He had to finish a class in the summer, and that delayed him a little bit to late summer. He is a smart kid. He can really throw it. He's getting more and more comfortable, and now it's time for him, right? He's got to prepare and be ready to go at some point. And whether or not we play well and take off, or whether or not that we need a spark. He's got to be ready to go. He understands that. He's excited about the opportunity. All of us are heartbroken about Max, obviously, and we love him. This team loves him, and he's been such a great leader for us and a great kid, and just handles himself the right way. And, I'm trying to get him back here as soon as we can to help me prepare these other guys. And he's still a huge part of what we're doing when we miss him, and ready for him to get back.
What I know it's a one-game sample size, but what stands out about UNC Charlotte's defense and what you saw from them against JMU?
Yeah, I think those guys, they present a lot of looks, and they're very, very physical. They play fast. They play, they play with a lot of, I guess, not flair, so to speak, but those guys are going to really challenge you. I think their defensive coordinator does a great job of giving you different coverages and different looks behind it. They'll bring some pressure. They'll have some pressure looks. They'll also play a lot of zone. So, I think for us, we've got to worry about executing our plays and be better at what we're doing. At the same time, we have to be aware of what's going on with those guys as well. But I think for us, the other night, when you look back, just some of our self-inflicted wounds probably kept us from scoring touchdowns. And that's what we have to improve on and really just try to execute our offense at a higher level.
Chip, did they try and take him out of the game or something because he wasn't targeted?
Yeah, Paysor still he's getting more and more healthy. He's had the foot, and I think he's getting closer and closer. And he played limited snaps the other night. The other night too, we played in a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. It kind of felt like it was that kind of game, in my opinion, and that's what we did. So that limited Nate and his snaps. That's not really what we ideally planned to do, but it kind of became that game. Like I said, we did enough to win. That's the number one thing. But we definitely got to get Kobe and Nate going better, and we'll do that moving forward.
I think how to go with the communication with the helmet. I know other teams have had problems. Stormy night.
Yeah. No, we didn't have any.
Worried about that?
Not really. The only thing I was worried about would they be able to hear, with a crowd and all that, because we hadn't really been in that atmosphere with it. But no, we didn't have any issues. I thought we handled that pretty well.
Neither quarterback seemed to have.
No, neither one.
One other thing too was the 2-minute timeout. That changed a lot.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it, it came up, it just, in my mind, it gives you a little extra, another timeout. We're really big here on trying to save timeouts. It's one thing Coach Brown really focuses on. It gives you opportunities, and so you got more options at the end of the game. But, it gives you a chance to regroup there when I don't think they want you to call it warning, right? 2-minute timeout. I think it's for some reason. But anyway, it gives you a chance to regroup, and I kind of like it. I think it's something that really, really helps us, and something you got to get used to too. But I like it.
Chip, have you seen any sort of different body language, personality from Connor in the last couple of days, knowing that he's now the guy leading this offense without question? Is there any sort of difference to him at all?
Not really. I think Connor knew he was in a heated competition, and I think Connor developed a lot of confidence throughout fall camp. I think he carried himself that way. I think he's continued to do that. I know he was excited. I heard him say he was nervous going in the game the other day, but it was a good nervous. Excitement about getting the opportunity, even though it was under unfortunate circumstances. But I think he's a smart kid. He was a really good player in high school. Won a couple state championships. He played at a high level. That program he came from in Alabama, I'm very familiar with, and they do a great job. They play in big-time national games, and they play for state championships. And, it's not Division I football in the ACC, but it's a high level. And I think the more he plays, the more snaps that he gets, the more comfortable he'll be. And, he's not an arrogant guy. He always carries himself with confidence. And I think our team, I want to say, they'll rally around him. I really believe that. It's a gut punch to lose Max, but I think our team will rally around him. We'll play good football, and that's what our goal is, and that's what we're looking at doing.
How much further ahead is Connor now, having had the experience preparing as a starter
Yeah.
for the bowl game?
Yeah. He's leaps and bounds ahead. The bowl game, he had the 2 weeks to get ready, and that was his first real action. We played a pretty good defense in West Virginia that night, and we didn't help him in some areas too. But I think his confidence has grown, and I think he's more prepared. I think he's a better player. I think I think you'll see some of that, and he's going to make mistakes from time to time, as all of them do. Drake made some, and sure Sam did when he was here, so that's part of it. But we got to limit those mistakes, and we're trying to play good complementary football. I think we're doing that. We understand that there's times that we got to win those low scoring tight games, and that's one thing we did. And again, I'm so proud of our guys for the toughness and the determination. It was a gritty game.
You got time for one more.
How were Kobe and Connor alike in that way that they were
Yeah, I think they're alike, and they both have big-time arms. They have arm talent. They both can really throw the ball to the field. They both can throw the ball, on dig routes down the field. They both have good touch on the deep ball. I think, if you look at the obvious differences, is that Connor's extremely fast. He can run, but Jacoby is still coming along as far as understanding the terminology and things. But he's made huge strides in fall camp. So, they are a different style, but they're both really good throwers. I think Jacoby's a smart guy. He's been in 3 or 4 different systems now. So when you count the transfer, and we got to get him ready to go. You never know what can happen moving forward, and I like the progress that he's making.
All right.
Y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Mac was talking about was he felt that some of the defensive players could kind of be fresh, I guess, as they entered the game and splitting the way they were able to split snaps. How did the substitution pattern go? Did it go the way you kind of envisioned it to?
So a little twofold. So I love the way Coach Brown ran the camp. The whole goal was to get them ready, have a tough physical camp, but make sure that they had fresh legs and were ready to go on game day. And I thought that mission was accomplished. Since we've gotten here, and Coach Brown's always talked about playing a lot of players, I think on defense we played 20 to 21 guys Thursday night, which was huge. The rotation patterns we had set, we have a meeting 2 days before every game as a defensive staff, talking about playing the players, how we're going to play them. Didn't get as many snaps because we had 5 3 and outs. So some of the guys' series, they were going in on this certain series. Well, they happened to play really well and got 3 and out. So some of the reps weren't as high as we would want. We only played 55 snaps on the game. But the initial plan that we went in with, we executed it really well, and the guys got to play and spell each other. And even came in after the game, commented on how much that helped him, us sticking to that plan and having guys come in and spell them.
Was he saying that he felt more freshman?
He did. And I think that was a universal theme. We built a lot of trust amongst the group and amongst the position players, so they know that if they're coming out, there's a really good player that's coming in for them too. So that helps build confidence and cheering for the teammates and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
You mentioned the 5 3 and out. Just in terms of some of the sack numbers.
Sure.
5 sacks. I think you held him 78 yards rushing.
Sure.
Were those the things you were most pleased with? What were the stat numbers that really stood out to you as far as we did that well and did this well?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knew going into the game that was a great rushing offense, and they want to run the football. And I think us being able to hold that rushing offense under 100 yards was a really good deal. We always want to create sacks. We want to create tackles for loss. The things that I spent a lot of time on yesterday in the unit meeting were the things we have to improve on. Situational football, I thought there were some situations that we didn't, play as well, and I didn't coach as well as we need to, so we made a big deal about those. The tackling, I think probably 40% of their yards were after missed tackles. We gave up 6 explosive plays, maybe 7. All but 1 should have been less than a 5-yard gain. So we made sure, and it wasn't demeaning. It was just like, hey, we have a high standard. We have really good players. We got to make sure we're tackling in space at a high level. There were a couple of times that I love that we're going after the football. I love that we're trying to create turnovers, but make the tackle first. And then, in the last 2-minute drive, we had some guys that were going for the ball instead of just securing the tackle, getting him down, let the clock run. So we spent a lot of time on that situational piece yesterday. There were some really good highlight plays, and we did obviously show those. But the biggest thing, and this is from Coach Brown too, is be very self-critical and make sure we're addressing the things so as we move forward, we keep getting better and better. But love the way the guys played, love their energy, the way they flew around, played with great effort, swarmed to the football, and then on the sidelines, they were unbelievably coachable, communicated well. We were using the iPads, which is a new thing for me, and just the engagement, even with the guys that might only play 10 to 14 snaps, they were just as invested and just as engaged the entire time on the sideline too, which was nice.
When you think about what you saw on film from Jabari, first got here.
Yep.
And then what you saw back early in the spring, what's the difference between that guy and the player we saw the other night?
Yeah, I thought he put on a show Thursday night. He's got tremendous ability. He's a tremendous young man. And I was so happy for him that the production matched how awesome I know that he is, right? And I'm wearing my little Javari Ritchie shirt today, a little J5 for him. He had a heck of a day. Universally loved on the entire team, and was just really proud that the production matched his work ethic and matched his ability. And that's a cool thing. And now the challenge is, let's do it again. And then let's do it again. And that kind of progression will be awesome for him.
Did you see something along these lines coming throughout camp?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he had a really good spring. I thought he had a really good preseason camp, and he made the plays that he was supposed to make. And the one in the fourth quarter, the sack where he ran the kid down, there's not many 300-pound men that can make that play. But Javari is just, has special ability, high character, plays really hard. So I think just the work that he's just consistently put in with Coach Monachino showed up and paid off for him on Thursday night. Yeah, the turnover he caused was huge, and I thought it didn't limit him at all. He was taking on blocks. He was being physical. I thought he added a really nice presence to the defense, making the calls, getting us lined up, making all the checks, and then playing at a high level as well. So internally, the two awards we give on defense, Ritchie got one of them and Amari got the other one, and was really proud of his performance. Played like an older guy, which is it didn't seem like it was his, whatever it was, second, third, or fourth game that he's played in. And I was really proud of just his poise, composure, and then just his relentless nature throughout the night.
Geoff, what was the teaching point for you with Caleb Valley, missed tackle on third?
Sure.
Third
Yep.
19
Yep.
times he kind of stood out. Like what have you?
Well, just the biggest thing, Caleb is a tremendous athlete, tremendous young man, and just knowing the situation, know where his help is. He could have easily just played with the proper leverage, sent it back to the other 10 guys on the team, and instead he ended up on the wrong shoulder of the tackle and reached and missed. Instead of just making it easy for yourself, using all your other buddies, set the thing with leverage, and make an easy play, right? And we talk all the time, play ball, don't work ball. So play football, don't work at it, just use your leverage, get in a better position, take better angles, and you'll make that play. So.
What'd you see out of Travis Shaw? He came in as a stud 5-star.
Sure.
And this is obviously a big year for him.
Yep.
See how that
So I think he played 22 snaps, which I think is an increase from maybe times in the past. But I thought he played at a really high level. I was very impressed because you guys all have gotten to know Travis. Big personality, fun-loving, love to be around him. But I was so impressed with him on the sidelines and in the game, how composed he was, what a great teammate he was on the sidelines and in game, how engaged he was the entire time. And then when he got out there and got his reps, made some really good plays for us. And the thing that kind of goes unnoticed up front is, everybody sees Power and Amari Jakeem Harris making all these plays, but it is the Travis Shaws, Javari Ritzies, Josh Harris's, Kevin Hester's, they're the ones that really make the magic happen. And if you just watch the way those four defended the run the entire night, it was impressive. And there were some clips that were clinic tape on how to play defensive tackle in big-time college football games, and those were really good players they were playing against. And that offensive line, I don't think there's a huge argument that they're one of the top 10 offensive lines in the country. And our guys sat there and defended it, and they fit it, and they used great technique and leverage. And Travis Shaw, obviously, is one of the key components to that, too.
How have you seen him grow from when you arrived through training camp, through the summer training camp?
Well, I think just the maturity level, the growth, who he is as a young man, his work ethic, and you can just, you look at growth, how much he's lost weight has been impressive. He's lost, I think, 44 pounds since January, And that is a conscious decision to make a market improvement in your own personal development that he's worked with our nutrition staff, Amber and Izzy, and has done a tremendous job taking all of their expertise and guidance and applied it. And I think that has carried over into every phase of his life. And he's a blast to coach. Like, he is just personality and work ethic and all those things. He's fun to be around.
I'm sure the Charlotte Scout is still in the early stages, but I think their top two receivers from the first game were 6'5" and 6'4".
Sure.
And I guess what kind of challenges are presented by those bigger body receivers?
Yeah, well, and the tight ends too. The two tight ends are a huge part of their passing game. They go 12 personnel, they go 13 personnel, a lot like Minnesota did to us. So they a lot of formations, a lot of eye candy. They get the matchups that they want by formations, by shifts, by motions, and they've got really good players. And there's a noticeable size on the edges and when the tight ends are out there running routes too. So we have to know who they are and what they're trying to do in every formation they try to get us into.
What are some of the teaching points on Marcus's two passing?
Sure. Just play with poise. I thought he had a tremendous camp. When the NFL scouts come through, along with the seniors, they always mention Marcus, and he had a tremendous camp. And just playing things with poise like he did throughout the entire camp, maintaining a leverage so that you can play ball, not work ball. So that's a big thing. Just watching those two plays, just stay in phase with the receiver, have the confidence, because Marcus is a big-time player, have the confidence, you're in phase, go ahead and look back, and those things probably wouldn't have been called. So we worked on that yesterday again and addressed it. So Marcus is really good.
Just out of curiosity, what do you have on your hand? It looks like X's and O's.
they're little notes, just reminders. So, and maybe a blitz or two that I thought of in the staff meeting. So I'll try to hide my hand a little better. It's not tattoos.
You guys had a couple of instances on Thursday where you guys had it was Atkinson, Rucker, and Evans all in at the same time.
Yep.
I know that's something you guys had talked about a little bit, worked on. What about that grouping up front do you like?
Well, they're three great players, and just trying to find a ways. And mostly it was passing situations, getting them in the game, and just the things that they can do out of 3 down and out of 4 down are really good. And I think we're just scratching the surface with what that group can do, in pass rush situations. And there was a couple of times that Bo was in there and had to defend the run as well, and he did a great job with that also.
That's maybe a great mind, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
What's the name for that package?
There's a couple. One of them's a psycho package, and the other one is just our 3rd down rushers, whatever. So.
And you got them all standing up, I guess, right? If I saw it right.
They do. They stand up. They put their hand down, and just, you guys have been around me. There's a lot of freedom that we give them within the scheme to make sure you're in the best physical position to execute what you have to execute. And the guys take that, and if there's any refinements that we need to do, we do. But we just want them to play free, play fast, fly around, have fun while they're doing it, but still have an edge to every single thing that they do. And as long as they keep doing that, which they did Thursday night, we can just keep building on it and keep growing on it. So
How did the communication with your piece go?
it was good. It was good. It was, we had 0 issues. It helped us a lot. We're still having to use the full gamut of our signal mechanisms, the boards and the wristbands and multiple signals for calls. We're still doing that. But the headset communication was awesome. And the backers echoing the call to the D-line. So we were able to convey some key information before the snap to help them play at a high level. So
Some of the guys said during camp that you guys were messing around with some of the safeties having it. Sticks
we did.
You even had it. You went solely with power.
Yep.
Are you going to mix it up, or is it pretty much going to be power?
Right now, it'll be power until we need to change it or have a reason to change it, because he can communicate to the front, he can communicate to the back end, so it's been good.
So if he goes out, there's another helmet.
There's another helmet, yep. Probably Caleb LaValle or whoever is ready
So
to.
it's probably stay linebacker.
Yes, for right now. Yep, and Everything is subject to change as needed. So,
Okay, so.
but it was great.
Jeff, I got a question about Dez. A lot of people look at stats and say, well, he doesn't have any stats in a particular game. What did you see out of him Thursday?
Des Evans
Yes,
was amazing.
that's what
He was just a complete destruction of what they were trying to do. There's a couple times that he's the one, Des Evans was the one that forced the tackle for loss, or he was the one that forced the sack, or he was the one that made them check to run away from him. I thought Des played really well. And I know people want to talk about production and the stat lines, and Ritzy's very well deserved, right? He had production, he had stat lines, but what Des Evans did, what Bo Atkinson did, the other internal guys along the defensive line, they were ones that were making plays based on the nature of what we do. Other guys make plays. And so I thought Des played great.
Staying on this real fast.
Okay.
Back on there. How much of that was him just occupying so much there?
100%. And the things that we were doing with him, based on what his skill set, I mean, he can just wreck the game. And a lot of times him wrecking the game means he's going to be eating up 2, sometimes 3 blocks so that somebody else is coming untouched to make the first tackle for loss we had. That was Des Evans. He didn't make the tackle for loss, but he forced that ball to bounce 3 gaps wider so somebody could run it down going sideways. But it was Des Evans that made that play happen.
Do you have a Dez Evans t-shirt?
I do have one.
You guys good? Good?
Can you get that one next week?
It depends on who was the player of the game.
We get a photo of the Ritzy?
I don't know if that's fine.
Everything's legal now.
We're all friends here, Jeff.
And he gave it to me.
I told him he could wear the t-shirt.
Thanks, appreciate it.
There it
Let me
is.
get one too.
Javari's
I didn't know this was going to be.
Javari's